Hi, hello. It is time to work on. Hi, hello. It is time to roll for my Herkid TBR for August. If you don't know what Herkid is, I will leave all of the information down in the description. It's not too late to join, and I will also leave a link for my playlist for all of my Herkid 3.0 videos. So, as last month, I have a little spinner wheel, I have some dice to roll, I am doing a gamified version of Herkid. However, when I was recording, something went wrong with my audio, so I will just play it up here, the clips, and I will talk you through it. So the first thing we did was spin for what prompt we're going to be focusing on this month, and we landed on familial terms, which I thought would be quite hard because I'm trying to read as many from my physical shelves as possible during Herkid, but I actually managed to fill these quite quickly, and I even had more than the 5 required. Well, 4, and I'll tell you why 4. Last month I read Cursed Daughter for the Biomes one, and that is going to be coming in to slot in. Each book you can double up on, and so that one will be fulfilling both. But let's look at the rest of my TBR for this. A lot of these you will have heard me talk about in various other videos because they are on TBRs for other bingo boards. I'm trying to double up as much as possible between other challenges as well. So we'll start with Blackwater Sister by Zen Cho. This is on my Art Fantasy bingo board, and this follows Jessamine, who loses her job. She's broke, she's like really struggling. She decides to move to Malaysia. Her parents are moving back to Malaysia, and she decides to go with them and kind of start afresh there. And she starts hearing a voice in her head, and her family's moving back because her grandmother, her mother's mother, has recently passed, and she starts hearing a voice in her head. She kind of writes it off as stress, and then she starts seeing the ghost of her grandmother, realizes the voice is her grandmother's, and then also her grandmother has been like using her body as like a little vessel, like vehicling it around when she is asleep. And so she realizes in order to deal with this, she needs to help her grandmother deal with some unresolved issues or something. It sounds intriguing. I'm excited to see I'm excited to see death from a Malaysian culture POV, and I just think that this is going to be an interesting read. The next one that you will have seen on another TBR, my Romantasy bingo TBR, is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. Now, I am going to preface this by saying a lot of the books that I put on my Romantasy bingo TBR, I don't think are romantasy. I think they're fantasy written by women, and so they are mismarketed or miscategorized as romantasy by readers, and in many cases even the publishers. This was on many a romantasy list and seemed to fulfill the prompt that is for. I can't remember which prompt it is. I'll pop it up on the screen. So if this turns out to not be romantasy, or any of the books for that turn out to not be romantasy, I'm not picking up another book. I'm going to read the one that I'd initially put on my TBR, but with the caveat that they are not actually romantasy. So this one is a retelling of the legend of Chang'e, the moon goddess, and this was a debut for this author. I believe the second book is out now, and this has been sitting on my shelf since this came out, so I really need to get to it and to see if I want to grab a copy of the second book as well. This follows Qingyin, who is unaware that she's being hidden from the Celestial Emperor. Her mum's hiding her because her mother was exiled for stealing the elixir of immortality, and Jing Yin has magic, and when that flares, it alerts the people they're hiding from to her existence, and then she is like on a quest, I believe, or on the run, something along those lines. I think I'm going to really enjoy this, so I'm glad I've put it on this TBR, so I finally pick it up. In a bit of a change of pace, we have The Mother Code by Carol Stivers. This is a horror, a thriller horror, and this is set in 2049, and a bioweapon is out of control and has begun to annihilate Earth's population. And then, in a race against time to save humanity, scientists design large-scale robots in which genetically engineered children will be incubated, birthed, and raised. That sounds horrific, and it sounds dystopian, and it sounds like something that could absolutely happen, unfortunately. I am really enjoying reading authors, particularly obviously in a sci-fi field, dive into the idea of AI and like robotics and what we're going to do with them, and how the multitude of ways it could absolutely destroy humanity. And this one is from 2020, so I'm really intrigued to see what someone thought the worst case scenario could be in 2020, bearing in mind in 2026 the worst case scenarios are much closer, and it'll be interesting to see what was someone's thoughts in 2020, considering the dystopian hellscape that in particular the USA is curating at the moment, and then trying to filter out into other countries such as my own. So yes, I'm looking forward to reading this. I think it's going to be awful, as in the storyline, as in the idea, the concept is going to be awful. I think I'm going to hate it. Looking forward to it. And then finally we have Yinka, Where Is Your Husband? And this is by Lizzie Damilola Blackburn. This is a like humorous romance. We follow Yinka, who is a woman in her, I think, mid-30s, and she has a good life. She is single, but she is happy with her life. She has a job she enjoys, she has friendships she, appreciates. However, as someone who is of the Nigerian culture, she has a lot of Nigerian family members, and in particular aunties, who are always asking her, when is she going to settle down and can she hurry the fuck up, basically. And as we join Yinka in this, her cousin, I don't know if we have a name for her cousin, but her cousin has recently got engaged, and obviously the wedding planning is happening, and therefore all of the aunties are really on Yinka's case. And so she decides she's going to try and find a date for Rachel. That's it, for Rachel's wedding. I don't know if it's like a fake date scenario or if it's genuinely her trying to find a date, but she's hoping the date will also lead to being her husband. Fingers crossed. And as I mentioned, I recently read Cursed Daughters, which is set in Nigeria. It'd be interesting to see the Nigerian culture in Britain, and obviously Yinka is British born, so it'll be very interesting to see how the family dynamics might be different to that I read in Cursed Daughters. Obviously the family dynamics in that were very strange because it was a family that had been cursed, but yes. So for those of you that don't know, I am doing a gamified version, so I did roll to find out what my modifier was going to be for this month's TBR, and did land on a new to me author, and my goal is to have at least 50% being new to me authors. And from these I've read Zencho and I've read a Yinka Braithwaite previously, but that is still 50% on new to me authors, which is perfection. Then I rolled for which not so secret prompt I'll be doing this month, and it landed on read a book entirely outside. I am going to the beach for a holiday sometime this month for a week, so I wanted a short book that I could read on the beach. So I'm going to be taking Anoka by Shane Hawke, and this is a indigenous short story collection that has been on my TBR for a while and I've been needing to read it. I believe it's on my R fantasy bingo board as well, off the top of my head, but this does tie in nicely for another prompt that I am going to be starting this month, although not completing, and that is the anthology prompt. So this prompt is to read an anthology and then read, I think it's 6 authors from the anthology, 6 of their books, and I will be reading Never Whistle at Night #2, Back for Blood, which is an indigenous short story collection. The first one was absolutely amazing, 5-star. The second one's coming out soon. I'm very excited, and it is a mixture of well-known and well-established indigenous authors. and then also some authors who this might even be their first book. So I'll be reading that. The audiobook comes out at the end of the month, which is how I prefer to read it. And Shane Hawke is the editor, and in this edition he has a story as well, so this will tie in nicely with that. So it'll be 2 prompts for the anthology and for the not so secret prompt, read the book outside. At some point, usually around the 7th of the month, Stephanie releases the side quest prompt, which is what the not so secret prompts were last week. So each month there's a optional side quest prompt you can do, and there's going to be like 2 prompts a month, and that comes out on round about the 7th, so that's never included in my TBR, but just mentioning that. And then finally, one of the prompts is a Herkid mashup. So you took one of the prompts from Herkid 1, one of the prompts from Herkid 2, smash them together. You need to do 5 books. I decided to challenge myself. I did a new release by a BIPOC author, smushed it together. I'm not just going to do 5, I'm going to do this every month for the year that Herkid is going on. Each month I am sharing on Instagram and TikTok some upcoming releases that have interested me, that will help you to diversify your bookshelf as well as mine. It's a mixture of BIPOC authors and queer stories, so if you're interested, follow me on Instagram or TikTok to see them. But each month I'm just taking one of them to make sure I read it. And in August we will be reading A Plagued Sea by Kim Bo-young and translated by Sophie Bowman. I recently discussed this in a Top 10 Tuesday video, but I did discuss this there, so I will do a quick rundown of the description in case you didn't watch that video, or in case you don't remember this book if you had watched that video. The synopsis on Storygraph is a little confusing, but I've since read descriptions of the book elsewhere, so I think I have a better grasp of what the book is about. So we follow Moo Young, who is a bodyguard, and she is taking her niece to a train station to get on a train to go to a small Korean seaside town or village. And as they are waiting to board the train, they receive a disaster alert that there is a massive earthquake coming to the eastern coast. But despite the danger, Mi Young decides her and her niece are going to go on that train because she wants to keep her niece away from her niece's mother. We don't know why, or it doesn't tell us in the synopsis. Then we jump to 3 years later, and the village they went to has become a horror show. It was like decimated by the earthquake, and Lovecraftian monsters have come out of the storm and are wreaking havoc on the village and the surrounding towns. There's been a government lockdown, so no one is coming to help them, and Mi Young finds herself in a position of like protector of the village. Unfortunately, her niece has died at this point as well, all in a synopsis, and this just sounds really interesting. I'm intrigued to see some Korean water monster creature type things. I enjoy creatures from the sea. I enjoy them in various different mythology and cultures. As I said, I recently read Cursed Daughter, which had some which I really enjoyed. I also recently read for my Herkid TBR in July, The Girl with a Thousand Faces, which was a sea creature. I just really enjoy that because I'm petrified of the sea, so it doesn't take much to convince me that there are very scary creatures below there. So yes, there we are. That is the 7 books on my August TBR for Herkid. Obviously, any others I read during a month that can fulfill a prompt, I will slot them in as we go, and I will update you at the end of the month for any that I was able to slot in elsewhere. And if any of these, as I read, I discover I can use them, I can double them up elsewhere, again, I will be doing that, and I will let you know at the end of the month in my update. But that is where we are for my August TBR. I'm enjoying the way I'm doing this thus far. I hope the momentum continues. With Herkid 1 and 2, I got to around January before I kind of fell off, and I'm really hoping this year that I'm gonna do a lot better with it. As I mentioned last month, this year I decided not to pre-plan all of the books, and I decided to do it like month by month. So I'm picking books I'm like looking forward to, etc., and I'm hoping that will keep the TBR from feeling stale and keep me going, like keep the momentum going. I have serious hopes that I'm going to complete Herkid this year. That is my goal. But yes, thank you for joining me. Let me know in the comments if you're taking part in Herkid 3.0. Let me know what your current read is. Drop an emoji just to let me know you are here. Whatever you feel like doing, hit like when you're down there. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. It will really help other readers find my videos, and it will make sure that you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. So thank you very much for joining me today, friends. Bye.